Now, I know what you might say. You might say there's no way you've played enough of this to give an honest review, and I say, no sir, or madam, I say I've been around long enough to know a poor game when I smell one. How do I know this? Well, first my advice would be from an ancient gamer is to trust your gut. Very little had been put out about this game prior to release, not to any grand scale, and what footage was released told you, the consumer, nothing of value. And besides, I've played it way beyond anyone needs to know where we're heading here. If it all sounds all too familiar, it is. Anthem and Marvel's Avengers are testament to the same. And just before I go on, please consider dropping a like and or subscribing. Thanks. I just knew before this was released it was a stinker. It had all the hallmarks. I cannot be sure, but it's like there's a dodgy businessman wandering the earth with a briefcase, going to software publishers and developers. And what's in that briefcase, you ask? A blueprint for a generic action RPG that looks nice with a load of particle effects and lighting, but zero substance. Weirdly, they all have the same thing in common. In Anthem, it's your suit that's your class. In Avengers, it's your hero that's your class. And here, it's a suit of armour more akin to Warframe in that respect. And then there's the enemies that just either stand around aimlessly until you turn up before even engaging, and more teleport in some fashion, wave after wave. Now, I haven't reviewed Anthem or Avengers, but I do own them, and I've finished them both and played well beyond the campaigns. Why, you may ask? Well, I'm a total sucker for action looters. Hell, my favourite worst game is Too Human. So perhaps I was hoping to continue in hope that one of these shit shows would be my new favourite bad game. Hellgate London came close. This is growing on me like a nasty fungal infection because I need to know if there really is a sign of a decent looter here with scope for unique builds and late game progression. Alas, despite some decent core elements and synergies, there isn't anything showing any promise. So, welcome to Godfall. After being treated to a terribly generic premise for your existence and purpose, it's time to get to business. Business being killing the locals with your sword. The tutorial gives you a great idea of how bad this game is and negates to tell you half the systems in the process. Graphically, it looks good, but again, generic, shiny, pretty, yet uninspired levels that could be any game of this ilk. I'm playing on PC, by the way, but I know many of you might be thinking this is a nice launch title on your PS5. I'd say don't bother, not at full price. So let's talk about the systems. You're basically a suit of armour, and there are 12 in total. All have their own little passive traits, such as 10% chance to inflict bleed and a special move, though it doesn't offer huge variety. It's a nice cosmetic change, however, as only a weapon changes the way you look anyway. You take on missions from your war table. In this game it's a magical pool of light, and these are split down into hunts, where you hunt a boss and kill it. To call it a hunt's a bit rich though, unless you're class hunting to run 200 yards to a marker on your hood and then kick the hell out of whatever's there. Explore, just run around aimlessly killing mobs and collecting loot. Boss, kill the boss. And story, which could be a combination of any of the above. And then there are also additional challenges such as the Tower of Trials, which has a roguelike element to it which you unlock partway through the game. One thing I do like about the missions is it clearly shows the type of loot you will get, so a rare charm or a sword, so you can kind of focus what you're after specifically to a point. Loot is fine, and it comes with the usual tiers and colours. It's not perhaps as bland as I first assumed, but then again, it's not that deep either. Weapons come in a wide variety, and pretty much what changes things up. Long swords, dual blades, warhammers, you get the gist. They perform as you would expect. Each suit gets a special attack that you unleash. For example, one suit summons a couple of wraiths to attack, while others increase your attack power and speed, perhaps. In addition, you get rings, charms, life stones, and a banner, and these carry stats, and the banner can be actually put down on the battlefield to create an aura, which will boost you in whatever way the stats stay, extra crits and so on. You can augment your armour also, basically socketing it into the suit to tailor your build to be more fire focused, for example. The loadouts can be simply copied from one suit to another if you like as well, so you don't have to fiddle about every time you change, or you can just have a different loadout for a different suit if you please. You can upgrade items at the forge several times, and it's just a simple matter of collecting the materials to do so from the levels or from salvaging items. You don't need any more. You can also spend stat points as you level up on a range of upgrades for your abilities and passive stats. These, however, are suit-wide or account-wide, if you will, and they don't apply to each suit separately, though you can reset them whenever you want free of charge and redistribute them. And there are cosmetics you can discover as well. I'm not sure if the shift codes being put out by Gearbox will unlock more of these. So yes, you can look to synergise your stats with your gear and your gear with other gear. It raises hope, but so many other issues prevail with this game that it's hard to know where to start. Combat feels decent and is mixed up by weapon types and to a smaller degree your armour. Weapons have a system within them. Use one weapon and it will charge the other one that you're not using. Once charged, swap and perform a polarity attack, increase the damage and send out a shockwave. Rinse and repeat. In addition, as you batter your foes, you will notice an extra bar over their HP. If you fill that up and then use a heavy attack, you will destroy them in one foul whack. And there's also a breach or stagger bar, if you like, that you can fill up and knock them to the ground. If you knock them to the ground, you can then perform a more powerful attack on them, taking them out a lot of the time. It can really shine in some parts, and some of the boss fights are genuinely fun. There's a half-decent mix of enemy types to keep you on your toes, with elite variants as well that can be a real pain to deal with. You have a shield as well, which you can parry with or throw Captain America style, and it's like a permanent attachment, so it's not like you can find new ones, but you will get to loot components and add effects to it, as well as upgrade it via your stat perks. Just in case I didn't bash the game enough in my intro, I've had a few more issues with this title. Its performance is questionable. I have a decent rig well above the recommended specs that can run better looking games smoother. It's clearly not well optimised. It has a nasty habit of hard frame drops, especially in the first few minutes of loading, even on an SSD, and I've had to tinker quite a lot with the settings to get a much more solid frame rate. I don't need a game to look amazing, I just favour performance, and in a game such as this, performance is key. It also doesn't appear to support third-party controllers on PC, so I need to use DS4 to use my PS4 controller. Not that it's a huge issue, but in 2020, It's also online only, and though it does offer co-op play, why are we online for solo? I doubt many people are going to be pirating this game anyway. I've also experienced numerous bugs that have resulted in all the missions vanishing off the selection screen, getting stuck in a chest when I opened it, dying on the Tower of Trials, and when I respawned the AI forgot I was there, so I just merrily danced around killing them with no retaliation. Weapon and shield have vanished from my very hands, and an enemy got stuck in the terrain, which required me to restart the entire mission because I needed to kill them to finish the mission. And the further I progress, more of these issues arise, like the game is becoming more and more unstable. You can clearly see where the testing was cut short. Also worth noting, enemies can be quite tame. They tend to hang around in the designated area and wait for you to really get in their face, but sometimes they just circle around and don't really do anything. I'm convinced they're broken. They certainly need to be more aggressive, and I'm not sure what this is a side effect of, because I've seen this in Avengers and Anthem as well. I would complain about the story, but to be honest, I don't play looters for the story, and they're usually pretty weak reason to frame why you're there killing everything to start with, but this one's exceptionally poor, laughable. Like others before this game, there are many things that could make this game even half decent, attract a proper following. At the very least, they need to optimise it and add a global chat. In conclusion, this is a launch title that feels like it changed scope 30 times before it made it to press. What was it supposed to be, a free game with microtransaction? It certainly fits that profile. It feels like it may have been looking to follow Warframe's model and change course late in development and decided to make a full price game and just put in all the things that you would have bought as a package. Perhaps they thought someone's mum might get confused as little Jimmy asked for that game on the PS5 with swords and armour hoping for demon souls, and she buys this turd instead. I underline and bold turd. Merry Christmas, Jimmy. Clearly, I cannot recommend this game, nor would I. Perhaps when it turns up in the bargain bin for 10 notes, but sure, it might pass an afternoon for some. It's a mess, it's shallow, it's broken, it's not being properly QA'd, that's for sure. It's just a cash grab in all honesty, and perhaps once upon a time had greater ambitions that never came to fruition. No, it's not the worst game I love. That's still out there somewhere, I suppose. Godfall. God or fall, more like.